Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good day. We're going to be doing in this video a little look at Nova. Now, for a lot of players, there's a lot of hype that surrounded this character, especially from comic book sources and other kinds of wants and desires. This has been a champion that we've wanted to see for a very long time. And we're going to look at whether or not this actually delivers, and as well kind of just giving a little bit of a lowdown. Now, just to point out something, there was a bit of an issue over the last few days. When this champion was granted to the CCP, there was a problem with ramping up Fury-based buffs. Now, for a lot of you that have played the Uncollected, whatever difficulty this month, you'll know that the champion gets some sort of Fury-based buff. And you're kind of going, oh, that's cool. That means that champion's going to really ramp that up. But it's a case that it was just a case we could only produce two at the time, two of those Fury buffs, and it was kind of a little bit disappointing. So as you can see, when reaching 75 Nova charges, gain a Fury buff, increasing attack rating by yada 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 for 7 seconds, max 4 stacks. Now, some of the CCP members were only able to produce 2. Kabam have rectified this, and now you can produce up to 4, and in some cases 5. Now, my initial assessment of Nova, because I only got a little bit of time to play around with him, and now that we have an extended testing period, I did find that he is very hard work, and hard work for the point of ramping up the Fury base damage. However, though, I must point out this is a rank 3 version, and I can imagine a rank 5 5-star or even a 6-star would be a bit different to the extent of damage output that you're going to be seeing in this video, as well as anybody that might be running a rank 3, and especially with suicide masteries. I personally think this is one of these champions that needs to be awakened to be good, especially if you're looking at options for, say, defensive purposes. And something to point out, I think Kabam had this champion in mind to be a defensive-based champion, or kind of an Alliance Wars defense-based champion that you'd want to kind of utilize. But at the same time, having some good offense, obviously hashtag defense is in there, but it does seem very much by the kit of the champion, the abilities, that it is very much set up for that, with elements of things like auto block being ingrained into the standard abilities, and also at 75 Nova charges, Nova's auto block triggers the parry mastery, which, let's face it, is going to be a bit of a frustration as Alliance Wars defense option. Then you've got the fact of Nova's medium attacks gain up to 3,162.5 bonus attack. Obviously, that will be different based on signature level, and as well the same thing with duration of buffs increasing. All very important, especially if you're looking at increasing the time that that Fury is on, because let's face it, that's your damage output there. That's what you want to see the most of. Something that's important to mention is when Nova is struck. And again, we're talking about the defensive options. True Strike, Unblockable, are guaranteed critical hits. Opponents have minus 70% attack rating, which is very important if you're going to go, I'm just going to use my Dr. Doom and doom this guy. Then the fact is, maybe that is not a good option. Basically, if you've got that guaranteed critical hit off their heavy attack, which a lot of people like using, and also the fact that Unblockable off the SP1, that minus 70% attack rating isn't going to be that helpful. Although I must point out that I did that with my Uncollected run, so I'm like, well, you know, if it's stupid and it works, it's not stupid. Something to point out is distance traveled. You'll see in the signature abilities, there's mention there about bonus attack rating based on distance traveled. So if you're one of these people that like to kind of travel from and do like huge dashes from one side of the screen to the other, this champion may benefit you, like the whole intercept side of things. So if you're an intercept master, and I do like intercepting more than most things really when the concentration's there, it is something that maybe you want to look into, especially for the signature ability of getting that amazing attack rating, and also not to mention the fact that you can get some good stuff from while dashing forward. Nova passively gains up to 20% of a bar of power based on the distance traveled. And also some of the kit that we just discussed goes further with his Nova charges max 100 section. So when one of Nova's buffs is nullified, remove 25 charges. Again, helpful. Something that I think I tried to implore when I did my Uncollected run is to just reduce down those Nova charges. The more charges he gets, the more powerful he gets. But at the same time, if you utilize things like nullifying, or even a champion like Morningstar, you're punishing off the back of those Nova, those Fury buffs, and that's basically what you do there. Either way, again, just to reiterate, this champion is a fun champion, but it's hard work. And the hard work largely comes in like so. So when you reach 75 Nova charges, and by the way, one thing that I was doing was getting the SP2 done and concentrating on that, because one thing and one problem you'll have is you'll concentrate too much in the top left hand corner to see where your Nova charges are at, and that's something of a bit of a downside. I must admit, I spent too much time looking at the top left hand corner rather than focusing on the fight. So just to point this out quickly, gain Nova Surge buff, granting plus 100% additional Nova charges generating for 9 seconds. Very important if you want to ramp up quickly to get the 75, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get up to, when reaching 75 Nova charges, gain a Fury buff, increasing attack rating for X amount for 7 seconds, and refresh Nova's active Fury buffs while below a maximum stacks. And obviously the maximum stacks is 4, but obviously you can get more than that, you can get 5. But do remember, 7 seconds, you can have things like increased timers, which obviously if you've got the signature ability, and as well if you're utilizing a synergy like Cosmic Supremacy or the Beardo synergy, then you can increase timers of things with Cosmic based champions. But the point about this being a little bit tricky or a difficult champion is trying to make sure you don't go to 100 of those Nova charges. So let's now explain the problem with the Nova charges. So you get up to 100 and yeah, that's all well and good, but then you go back to 0. Yes, if you got the surge on, that's great, but if you don't have the surge on, let's just say you've got nothing there, it's all consumed, and now you've got to build back up. It's difficult to build back up to 75 to keep those Fury buffs on and constantly ticking away your damage. So that is where the problem lies, constantly ramping up those charges in order to get yourself the Fury buffs still there and consistent to do the damage output required. And now this comes to a point of like how to play the champion. I'm sure a lot of people will differ on that fact. Will it be a case that before you get to 100 charges, which as we know, getting to 100 charges is not what you want to do, because you want to be getting past 75, throwing a special attack, an SP1, or is it going to be a case of throwing a medium attack which consumes 25 Nova charges, bringing it down? So that's what you want to try and do. Build up to 75, bring down, bring up, bring down, bring up, like that, in order to maximize the extent of damage output. Or instead, do you throw SP2s, or even as a case of like even smashing through with an SP3 in order to get that permanent Fury buff off? I mean, for me personally, it was a combination of doing the SP2s and occasionally throwing in the SP3 to reactivate that Fury buff, that permanent one as well, just to see if I can maximize damage. A couple of times it worked quite well, but the kind of main point I want to kind of leave you on is, this is a good champion. Is it a champion that I liked? No, not at all. I didn't really get on with it, and that's because I spent too much time watching the top left-hand corner to then reaching a point of going, right, okay, I've gone over 75, I've got to remember now to frantically try and either throw an SP1, or is it a case of trying to throw a medium attack? A lot of the times I was looking to throw the medium attack. In hindsight, maybe it would have been best to throw the SP1, but there are some kind of limitations with throwing that maybe I don't like, and it depends where I am currently with the surge charges. Maybe again it would be best of me to kind of go like, right, well, if I had the synergy activated and doing the heavy attack, would that be in a better way to kind of reactivate that surge buff in order to do that? And at the same time, it was maybe advisable to look towards utilizing Nova's medium attacks when doing the bonus rating based on distance charging. So like creating distance and kind of utilizing that mechanic a bit more, especially if you're kind of swiping and then throwing a special at the same time. That could have been a good idea to kind of like do that, but I don't know if that's based on that medium attack, or is it based on something like medium attack and then whatever is thrown after it. More than likely it's just a case of going, right, well, that's the medium attack that gets the bonus attack rating and nothing else. Either way, he seems like a pretty cool champion. It's just one of those ones that's not really for me at this given time, but I'm sure that there'll be others that will really like this champion and really run with it and do some amazing stuff. So thanks very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.